Hello everybody and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
And people are back for the poll, James. 3 options, 1 clear winner.
Yeah, not too much of a surprise.
It would have been so easy for just to roll this conversation to yesterday's pod, but then it would have been a 2-hour pod probably, to be fair. So probably a good thing that it won and we were able to then cut the conversation in yesterday's pod short. But what were the runners, riders and the winner?
The runners and riders were the Premier League's 1-month block on new sponsorship deals. It's in response to the Newcastle United takeover. They don't want them immediately signing off and calling it Saudi Arabia at St James's Park Stadium or anything like that. They want to create some sort of legislative law that's going to be similar in terms of sponsorship deals to the fit and proper person test. I know what you're thinking. These guys passed the fit and proper persons test, so how's that going to work? Well, I don't know. We were going to talk about it. Didn't win. The race for the top 4, because if not Manchester United, then who? Although, when they change manager, it probably will still be Manchester United. The winner of today's People's Poll is Ole Gunnar Solskjær. Manchester United's current status. Is he going to survive? And what next? Because I think that to answer the original question of is he going to survive, I think we know the answer, don't we? Although the reports this morning are very different to the reports that were going around last night. And I guess just in case something changes, we should timestamp this. It's just gone 9 a.m. UK time on Tuesday. What's the date, Suj?
27th of October.
Yes, go James. The reports circling late afternoon, early evening yesterday was that he was done. He was going to get sacked, and they were going to call a meeting last night to discuss what they were going to do next. The Athletic posted a report this morning, which is not based on anything inside that meeting, but the general consensus, and they have plenty of good sources that I think are worth trusting at the moment, is that Solskjaer will get at least the Tottenham game on Saturday. Quietly, I rub my hands in the background. And I think that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? I'm sitting there thinking, oh, fuck's sake, another team's going to change their manager before they play us. But it looks like Solskjaer's going to be in charge on Saturday. And my immediate thought, and those who listen to us regularly will know I'm not kind of pro backing Tottenham to win and stuff, but if Manchester United rock up at Tottenham and play like they played on Sunday, they get beat at Tottenham as well.
Yeah. Agreed. But I think there's so many different kind of elements to the story rather than is the manager just doing a bad job, because you've got the conversation around Solskjaer. Is Solskjaer tactically aware and inept? And we can make a case for he is a little bit aware, at least, because there's certain games like City and what have you that they really showed up and have done well. Then you've got the conversation around the Ronaldo signing and the structure of the team. I listened back to Souness and Gary Neville's argument, debate about after the game about what had gone wrong.
Souness blamed Pogba, right?
No, he didn't actually. So the conversation started with what was the problem, and Neville was saying that he would, if you're going to start Ronaldo, play Cavani up top with him because he needs a focal point with him. And Souness was saying the lack of a focal point up top is not the issue. It's that they're not pressing as a team, or they don't know what they're doing tactically. But if they are going to be a pressing team, well, Ronaldo's not going to press, so you can't press with 10. And so what are they deciding to do? And they end up in a no man's land. And Souness made a fair point. They conceded 5 goals at the back. That's not whether Cavani plays or not. But also it's not quite true, because then the way the team approaches the game is about that. So the Ronaldo thing plus the Solskjaer thing and then the tactics layered on top of that, it's not just as straightforward as Solskjaer's doing a shit job.
No, and I think to kind of go back to when he inherited the job, he obviously picked up a load of shit. And I don't think there's any Manchester United fan that would look at their squad now and think their squad, in terms of player personnel, is in a worse status than when Ole Gunnar Solskjær got the interim job, and it was only ever meant to be interim, but it kind of went so far, didn't it? It was like, he's done really well here. He's going to get the job, isn't it? Yeah. And then, of course, as soon as he got the job full time, it was like, smack. That even by the end of that season, it was like, oh, have they made a mistake? Should they change it again? And look, they finished second last year. You would have to say there's definitely been progress in what Manchester United have done in the period that he's been in charge. I suspect a lot of it is to do with the fact that they have reshaped the squad. Luke Shaw's been integrated. They bought Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They bought Harry Maguire. I feel certain that is a Solskjaer signing. I might have that wrong. Harry Maguire, is that Solskjaer signing or Mourinho signing?
Good question.
I think it's Solskjaer.
I feel like Solskjaer as well.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced now. I've said that. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, the integration of people like Mason Greenwood as well, Marcus Rashford's development, Jadon Sancho's been bought, Scott McTominay's come through. The squad actually is in a much healthier position. You made a comment yesterday, didn't you, and go, if one of these other top managers was in charge of United, they'd be challenging for the league.
Would be challenging.
And I think this is now
and
where
their progress
the frustration's at.
And progression was third to second, and the gap between second and first was so big that you may as well be 10th at that point, but still third to second. Adding Sancho, adding Ronaldo, adding Varane this summer means your progression has to be second to first. So I don't think United fans are unfair in their expectations for the club and for the squad. I think their expectations of challenging, maybe not winning, but challenging.
Yeah. I don't think any Man
fair.
United fan
and also
expected to win the league this year.
A decent run in cup competition. I think that's fine. Yesterday, I was pretty convinced that, Solskjaer's not good enough and he needs to go. Then I look back at it and I think that he has got them to some finals. They got to the Europa League final, albeit lost.
Didn't win it.
Albeit lost, but that's progress compared to previous.
Does Manchester United get to Europa League final progress, if we're being honest here?
It's a final and a chance to win a trophy, right? But this year would make it 5 years without a trophy.
And it's too long.
Correct.
It's too long.
Because even the likes of Arsenal, as annoying as they are, drip feed one in every now and then with the FA Cup or whatever, right? So that drip feeding in of trophies kind of keeps people at bay a little bit, and they haven't been able to do that.
He's had 6 games since the window shut, right? And think back to after game week 3. They battered Leeds opening day. Southampton were a little bit indifferent game week 2. Drew, okay, that can happen. They won at Wolves game week 3, were a little bit fortunate. The euphoria of obviously Ronaldo's return and stuff, there were a lot of Manchester United fans believing, okay, this is it. This is the next level now. This is us trying to challenge to win the league title. I think rightly so. They battered Newcastle 4-1, although there were some fortuitous moments in that game again in game week 4. Fast forward 5 game weeks and we're already sitting here and going, there is no way they'll win the league title. Like, you could...
No way.
Guardiola could take over the United team now.
No way. Yeah.
And United are not win the league this year, right?
No chance.
We're in agreement with that, basically.
100%. Yeah.
Despite not being a million miles away, it's just too many problems there at the moment. So I think exactly that. I think United didn't need to finish first or second this year. I think United needed to make sure they were in a title race again. And we're already at a point where it looks like that's probably not happening. It's worth saying... This time last year, United lost their first 3 home games. Lost at home to Crystal Palace, badly.
Yeah.
They got battered by Tottenham 6-1. They lost at home to fucking Arsenal as well. Right? So we were probably in this position this time last year where we were also saying they're not going to win the title. And actually, a run of momentum happened that made you question if they could sustain the consistency. They'd have stupid results, didn't they? Like losing at home to Sheffield United, 3-1 up against Everton, drawing 3-3. There were games that cost them. Meanwhile, on the road, they kept conceding first every week and winning every week.
Yeah. That's all right at my place, mate.
I mean, the game we lost at Leicester was the first game we lost away from home in like 15, 16 months or something.
Yeah, crazy run.
Credit where it's due there and stuff as well. But I think every time he's had a problem previously, Solskjaer, and I feel like he's always been under question and scrutiny, a little bit kind of like Frank Lampard at Chelsea, because there's nothing to lean back on from an experience perspective that goes, he's told me.
Built up credit in the bank. Like Poch went on a bad run, but he'd had so long of a good run that he maybe had more credit in. And so, like Moyes, for example, if he lost the next 3 games, no one's going to be calling for his head because he's built up that credit in the bank. For Solskjaer, I think at least half the United managers probably didn't want him in the first place, and so he's always been on a hiding to nothing.
But every time he's been in trouble, he's got out of it. Like every time you thought, if they lose the next 2 or something like that, and then they go and win 5 games in a row or something, it's always seems to have worked out that way. And I think it's partly why going into Sunday, I expected them to be so up for it, right?
Yeah. Me too.
How many tackles they won in the game?
10 or something.
No, the same amount of goals they conceded.
5. Won 5 tackles in the game. That's bad.
Man United v Liverpool.
Very bad.
We didn't have more players than that booked or carded.
Yeah. What are your thoughts around Ronaldo? Because a lot of people are saying that he has not been a positive influence. A lot of people saying drop him, play a formation without him. Even you mentioned it. He's not going to press, but he's definitely fit enough and will work hard enough.
No. Ideally, obviously, you don't drop a player like that, ideally. But I think
it's less than a week ago that he was rising to head home a late winner against Atalanta, which is what Ronaldo does.
In the Champions League game before that, scored a very even later winner, obviously, against Villarreal as well.
That's Ronaldo for you. Yep. So are you of the mindset that build a team around Ronaldo or find a system, and if he doesn't fit, tough shit?
Oh, well, I think you've got him. You've got to use him generally. I think my comment off camera to you yesterday was that I would consider dropping him for the next couple because it's not working, and you cannot play against Manchester City in that way. I mean, it would not be a shock if United play the same way against Man City as the way they played against Liverpool. The scoreline will be very similar. Mm-hmm. That won't be the case this coming weekend at Tottenham because Tottenham don't have the quality to expose it. Manchester City obviously do. So something has to change. The thing is with Ronaldo, we talk about pressing. And there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You don't have to go and get into someone's face. I think that's what people think with pressing a lot is you have to be like Liverpool were, kind of in their intense pomp and like everything gets closed down.
Yeah.
What Liverpool always do so clever is they don't actually press the man on the ball. They press the receiver. Yeah. They set traps.
Yeah.
So that's one way of doing it. You can have instigated press where one person kind of sets a tone. So it could be, for United, it would probably need to be one of the wide players. So if we say it's Rashford and Greenwood at the moment, it's not Ronaldo that's going to set the tone. But then Ronaldo himself, he can stop passing lines. You can still be defensively and strategically sound and not have to run around a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the things, like a great example, Patrick Bamford at Leeds, who is someone who does press quite hard, but his sole purpose really at Leeds without the ball is to stop two centre-halves playing the ball to each other and to force defenders to go out into positions where they're uncomfortable, then Leeds go and hunt in packs. So Ronaldo could do that. He could just kind of shadow boxing is an expression I've used in the past where you just shadow someone.
Pressing.
And
Christian Eriksen, there we go.
Christian Eriksen. Robbie Keane's another one was good at it as well, where you just stop the passing line between two players. So if Ronaldo can position himself, and it doesn't have to be between two centre-backs, actually, in the way United play, you would be better off not doing that. Obviously, the benefit of going between centre-backs is if you win the turnover, you can play him in.
Yeah.
But if you stop the ball going into midfield players, and then the wide players can narrow it up. The problem they've got at the moment is, like Bruno, I think sometimes, I feel like he goes into business for himself off the ball. So he'll go and press, but his teammates ain't fucking doing it with him.
Okay.
So there's no point in him actually doing it.
No, that's it. You either all go or you can't press with 8 or 9.
It's detrimental. So he'll go and press, but then there's an easy out to the fullbacks, and then say Greenwood doesn't get up, then Wan-Bissaka doesn't come and support, and it just becomes... It's just a knock-on. It just becomes so easy.
Is that bad coaching, or is that the players just being stupid?
For me, that has to come in the modern game. That has to come down to coaching, rather than a personnel like Rashford and Greenwood. And it's worth saying Rashford's not long come back from injury. No one's going to tell me Marcus Rashford can't press. I've seen him do it. He can do it, absolutely. So if you play it in the right system, like we've seen Rashford and Martial can be a lazy bastard as well, right? I've seen them play split forwards and go and press fullbacks really well and stuff. So there's no, and that's in a Solskjaer team as well. There's no, it can't. I think they've kind of hit a boundary point at the moment where there's probably too much friction where they're not sure of what's happening, and they're looking at the other three teams and going, if we had one of them, we'd be in a better position here, wouldn't we? And it's so difficult. It's so difficult to argue against kind of what we've kind of said, and it's a shit narrative, but it does feel kind of true that they are not going to win one of the big two trophies, Premier League, Champions League, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is their manager. And therefore, if that's the position you're in as Manchester United, arguably biggest club in the world globally, cut your losses. Exactly what I said about Mourinho at Tottenham and also at Manchester United previously. Stop wasting time. Might as well move on and get something else done. And I feel like at the moment he's hanging in the job, I feel, because like Conte supposedly has put feelers out, hasn't he, to say, look, yeah, I'm interested, come and speak to me. Still 24 hours long, no approach for Conte. Even you would think at some point be saying, you know, we might make a call to you. You can just put those feelers out. It doesn't look like that's happened yet. So I don't think they have United owners have a contingency plan of what they're going to do. I don't think they ever thought they were going to be in this position this season. I don't think... I mean, how often do United change managers mid-season?
Hardly.
Mourinho was the only... I mean, they've
Moyes,
completely...
If you want to count that, but Moyes was right at the end of the season.
End of April when it was guaranteed
really.
They wouldn't finish top four. Yeah. Mourinho's the only one. Admittedly, Ferguson was there for nearly 30 years or whatever, 25 years. But they don't do that. I don't think there was... Even like with Van Gaal and stuff, they let it go to the end of the season. David Moyes was basically the same.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that the backroom staff... a lot to be said in the reasoning why they're not so trigger happy. It is all ex-Fergie players, staff, Man United through and through, and Mike Phelan, Carrick's in there, and so on. So I think these guys have all known each other for a long time. Whereas when Moyes came in, he changed the full backroom staff, right? He brought all his old guys from Everton or whatever. A lot of these guys that are in there now are all part of the United Fergie fledglings, whatever they were, and they've been through that era, so we'll stick by each other a lot more. So I think, say the owners decide they want to get rid of Solskjaer, then it's not going to have necessarily the most positive impact in Phelan, Carrick, but whoever else is in the backroom team there necessarily. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is another question to be had. But I feel like there's strength in numbers. He's getting more time because there's strength in numbers from dyed-in-the-wool Manchester United people in that team there.
I'm glad you brought up the coaching staff because it is believed, and I have seen some rumours over the last 24 hours, nothing from what I would believe to be a trustworthy, exactly, but just rumours saying that apparently there is a split within United's coaching staff, even between Solskjaer and Phelan, and Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna, who United got from Tottenham, who supposedly is kind of the brains behind a lot of the coaching stuff at Old Trafford. So Solskjaer apparently leans on Phelan quite a lot in terms of final tactical decisions. It's believed and it's rumoured that potentially United trained a lot last week in a back three in preparation for Liverpool, which is something they've done against Liverpool before, and McKenna and Carrick led a lot of that coaching session, and then it came around to sort of Thursday, Friday, and it was like, no, we're going to play back four. And that's where you'll get splits then, because think of it from a player's perspective. And players, I'm never saying a player doesn't try, but players sometimes don't need an excuse to kind of pass the buck and the blame sometimes. It's happened everywhere where players, for whatever reason, just stop playing to their maximum ability because they don't want person X in charge of the team. But imagine you're a player and on... I don't know what day United played last midweek. Did they play Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday.
I can't remember.
Early.
All right, fine. But let's say in terms of Wednesday wouldn't have been intense. But let's say Wednesday, Thursday, they started already working on shape for United Sunday, in terms of a potential back three. And then it comes to Friday or even Saturday. And actually, no, you've done that for 2-3 days, but we're going to do this. That's the sort of thing as a player is going to make you question, well, what's happening? Who's in charge?
Yeah.
Why should, if two other people are potentially leading the coaching session... Why would you, again, this isn't proven to be correct, but I've seen that those rumours in a number of different places yesterday.
Ronaldo, I mean, we see it on the pitch in his body language. He's a proven winner. If he's in and around people that are not doing what he expects to his standards, he is going to get the hump. I'm sure of it. But there was a story, I don't even want to mention it, but it's a red top, about the half-time team talk versus Atalanta. And Ronaldo was the one, the players were obviously arguing, Ronaldo was the one that's like, are you guys not ashamed of what's going on here? Come on, let's sort it out. But he has such a weight of voice there.
Of course he does.
But that can be detrimental at the moment. But if he's in the negative space...
Apparently they've all stopped eating desserts and stuff, haven't they? It ain't doing them no fucking good, is it? Let's be honest.
My point of view here is now, I don't think Solskjaer has done a terrible job. Like, I don't think he's disastrous. He's given them some good games, good results, and they have made progress. So you might call him he's done a fill-in job to a certain point, and he's helped build a squad that is a very, very good top 4 squad in the Premier League comfortably. So he's got them to a certain point. If United get rid of him without the right next manager, it's disastrous. So if Conte didn't want to join now, for example, if the right manager that they wanted was not available right now, was available at the end of the season, write it off. Carry on with Solskjaer to the end of the year. But like getting rid of Solskjaer and just having an interim manager for the rest of the year,
you say that, but then Solskjaer turned it around himself, right? Just a kind of uplifting.
If he does,
just an uplifting of people like Paul Pogba. I mean, I remember that when Solskjaer took over. I watched one game at Cardiff, and it was like, right, I'm on wild card now. Pogba's 3 of them are in. I went Pogba, Rashford, and Martial, get it all in. And they had a brilliant run through that winter period. Admittedly, had very good fixtures at the time. It also doesn't help United have not had a bad fixture list. They're now in the middle of kind of a dirty run. But again, we've spoken about it so many times from an FPL perspective. Like game week 15, 16, it turns magic up to like 28, 29. So someone interim could come in, hit the ground running, and before you know it, they've won 7, 8 games in a row, and actually top 4 would be assured and possibly back in the title race. You never know.
Solskjaer could do that just as easily.
Do you think? On what I've seen so far this season, they are capable of losing any game right now. And honestly, I'll include playing Norwich in that. Because of the way they're set up. If you think about United, and let's give Solskjaer some credit for some things he has done good. We've spoken about it before. He's won at the Etihad the last 2 seasons. I think they had a League Cup semi-final win there as well. And last year they also drew 0-0 at Chelsea. They drew 0-0 at Liverpool. They kept a clean sheet at Man City. So the 3 big away games last year kept a clean sheet. Right now, I'm not playing any of these games and keeping a clean sheet. So what's changed? In those big games, Solskjaer has always lent onto a counter-attacking philosophy, sit behind the ball, we've got fast players, let's break on people. For some reason, very recently, that has decided to change. And the pressing, however it's being coached or implemented, is not working. They should go back. If Manchester United If Manchester United set up at Tottenham, and they can do this with Ronaldo in the team, they can do this with Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Greenwood all playing, and sit with, okay, do you know what? We're going to stand off you because we can't press. So we sit off the play and say, okay, say to Tottenham at the weekend, go and break us down. There's no way that we beat Manchester United on Saturday, if that's the case.
Look at if you're going to play McTominay and Fred in a 4-2-3-1, Bruno as a 10, Rashford to the left, Greenwood to the right, and Ronaldo up top. 4-2-3-1 is what we played against you. And when you had that spell of possession,
you played with 4 attacking players. It's not a problem.
20 minutes to like 35, 40 minutes where you had the ball for the majority of the time. We weren't pressing you, but we kept our shape and blocked out the space.
You make the game narrow.
And with McTominay and Fred, they should be capable of doing the same positional shape work that Rice and Suchek can do. Their back 4 are as good as our back 4. And then if the front guys work hard, because Bowen, Fornals and Benrahma, they really work hard. They put a shift in, they track back and they harry. They do that in their shape. That's not pressing, but it's just keeping your shape and blocking out the space.
Passing lines.
They have the ability to do that.
Exactly what West Ham do is block passing lines.
Yes.
Stop the pass coming in.
Well,
say, okay, you can go side to side all game.
So yeah, I don't. It's not for us. It's easy to get into Tottenham, West Ham, but I'm saying the point is an example there of a team that didn't press but were able to defend comfortably. And United can do that as well because they have the personnel to be able to do it. And anything that comes in over the top, Maguire and Varane, it might be Lindelof, can deal with. They've got a good goalkeeper, but if for example Rice or Suchek was to start bombing in and chasing and pressing something, then suddenly you've left a gap here in the middle. When we played Manchester United at home, that was one of the things I was worried about because Suchek was getting pulled into McTominay and Fred and Pogba was finding space. It didn't last more than 5-10 minutes. It took a shape back. But if that happens, you're screwed. If Benrahma's not tracking, if Bowen's not coming back to help his right back a little bit, you're screwed. And so if Greenwood, Rashford don't drop in to help keep the shape, then they're screwed. But they don't need to be bombing forward all the time. They can do it in their own half and that kind of thing.
I mean, look, at the moment they're without Varane, but those defensive clean sheets last year were with Lindelof and Maguire, Shaw and Wan-Bissaka. So there's nothing to say that they can't do it. It's not. I think what's happened is, I don't know if something's triggered because of the purchase of Ronaldo, where they've looked at it now and gone, can we just be a counter-attacking team? Like, can you win the Premier League and be a counter-attacking team? Well, yeah, we've seen Leicester City do it. I know it's completely different. But in the big games, it was working. You don't have to play that way for 38 games. But you can accept that if you open up and play X way against Liverpool, Man City, etc., you're going to get damaged.
What do you think on this stat? So one of the arguments against counter-attacking, Ronaldo's old, 36. He hasn't got the legs anymore, so he's more of a box player, box striker. There was an interview with him at the weekend on Sky Sports. It might have been BBC. I think it was Sky Sports though. And they said, and they dropped the stat in there, and it might not be true after this weekend's games, but before the weekend's games, it was the only player that had more sprints than Ronaldo in the league this year was Salah. So he's still sprinting. He's still got pace. So if you want to play a counter-attacking style, the argument that Ronaldo can't counter-attack and attack with pace because he's old doesn't
it's
stand
a nonsense.
up.
I agree.
Doesn't stand up. So that for me doesn't work, because I was surprised, to be honest with you, when I heard that stat that only Salah's attempted more sprints than Ronaldo. Again, it was on a Sky. He did an interview on Sky Sports 101, which is an interesting listen, because quite a lot of the questioning aimed at him was about him as his influence and how does he feel about the fact that they're not winning and he's a winner. And he muttered some stuff under his breath at the Villa game that was caught on camera, and he's like, look, I'm a winner, I want to win, and what do you want? This is all you're going to get. But the questioning was not around like his history and his play. It was really right here, right now, where's your head at, because you're muttering and throwing your arms up and stuff. And he gave the answers you'd expect him to give. But yeah, I think you can play counter-attacking with
100%. I mean, particularly with the pace around it as well.
And yeah, I mean, Rashford coming back in, the goal he scored the other week was a very well taken goal and was typical Rashford. Rashford running at you, getting in behind, deadly. It's one of the best, deadly. It's like it reminds me of Son-esque, when they're in behind, they're finishing.
So
and they're running.
The best way they're going to open up these solutions is by letting the other team have the ball.
Yeah.
It's literally that cut and dry for me, that if they go to Tottenham on Saturday and play the same way they played against Liverpool, we'll get beat. If they come to Tottenham and frustrate and let Ollie Skip and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg pass the ball side to side, eventually United will create their own chances through Tottenham's mistakes.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a difficult. I still think 4-2-3-1 suits their squad and their playing style, and they've got the players to do it. And when people ask me the question now, is it time for Ole to go and is he not good enough? I'd say yes. I think he's got to the point where it is time. But that's not like bomb him out because he's so shit. He's done you a service. He's been all right. You've had some highs. Don't sour the memories of Ole Gunnar Solskjær in red for Manchester United. But shake hands and say, actually, okay, probably it's a fair time. But only do it if you know what the next plan is. Don't just bomb him out right now for the sake of bombing him out, because that's not going to help and it's going to be detrimental. Make sure that you are set and agreed on the next manager being the right one for the long term of Manchester United with the squad that you have. Conte will be short term, 2 to 3 years. I don't see him going in there and laying roots. Do you?
I agree. I think culturally for United, there's a lot of scepticism from a number, and there's a lot of people who are very pro Conte, but there's a lot of scepticism in terms of exactly that. Conte wants to come in, wants to win league titles, etc., etc. But actually, I think in the immediate, that's what United need. United need someone to come in who's got that incessant drive to be the very best, and he's a world-class manager and will go and compete with the other three managers in the league. I think that's the most important thing. The idea that, and I get it, particularly because of Ferguson and stuff, that United would rather have a manager who comes in, who has a long-term vision, is going to develop the youth, etc., etc. I get all that. No one's saying that if Conte comes in, he's going to sell Mason Greenwood or anything like that. No one's saying that. But I think that's what United need right now, because I just think the distance is too big between the other three teams at the moment, and it shouldn't be. You said it yesterday, like 11 for 11. You could look at the United Liverpool teams, and there are a number of United players who, if they were at Liverpool under Klopp, would get in the Liverpool team, but wouldn't the way they're playing in this system right now, right?
No.
Like generally, you would not put Ronaldo in the Liverpool team ahead of Roberto Firmino. It just wouldn't work. Nobody is ever suggesting that Roberto Firmino is a better footballer than Ronaldo, right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you've got tools there that you should be able to use to compete. It's too far off. And it's not like we're in year 1 or year 2. It's been long enough now to know that the distance is too big. What they had to do this year was narrow it. The gap is going to get bigger. Right now, they're in a competitive market in terms of the league of competing with West Ham, Leicester, Arsenal, Tottenham. Not competing with the 3 teams you should be competing with from Manchester United perspective. And that's what they've got to do immediately. And the model works for Chelsea, right? Why have Manchester United as the biggest club in the world got to be different? That I think the goal for Manchester United...
Really,
well, of course,
the whole thing
of course, it's going to have a huge influence, and even like when Fergie walked out the door and went, get behind the new manager, give him time and stuff like that. The reality is, he didn't actually get that time, did he?
No.
Do you know who would be a good replacement for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? David Moyes. I mean, the short term, just to fix the problem.
I think the thing is, I think that bridge is burnt.
Well, of
so
course,
badly.
Obviously. I also say I think David Moyes would be good for Newcastle.
My next question for you is actually very well linked, though, with David Moyes, because one of the things that he had to do at West Ham was to get certain players out the door, as well as getting new players in the door, Haller, Anderson, and so on. When I look at the United squad, and I'm looking for deadwood or disruptive wood, I don't see a huge amount. Like Martial up top. Cavani's cool, but I don't even know why they re-signed him for a year when he's not even going to get a look.
Because they had no intention to buy Cristiano Ronaldo and only bought him because he was going to Manchester City. And anybody who doesn't believe that, you can DM me.
Martial, maybe. But then your other forwards that are in and around that are not getting minutes, like your Lingard, who's still getting minutes on the bench. He's not disruptive. He still wants to play for Manchester United. In midfield... I don't know the influence of the likes of Pogba.
Getting Lingard in the team, by the way, would be a very good idea at the moment.
He'll definitely work his nuts off. In midfield, McTominay and Fred, like none. I don't see anyone in the squad that's throwing their toys out the pram if they're not playing or is disruptive. But what I don't know is the influence that the likes of Pogba, Ronaldo, as global superstars, have on the mood and the atmosphere in the rest of the organisation.
We can only judge that on what we see on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
Pogba's obviously
bring it back around to my question. Is there dead wood in there that needs to be cleared out?
Yes, of course.
Who?
But Pogba is not the dead wood, right?
Who?
Paul Pogba. Again, I watched Paul Pogba for France in the Nations League final against Spain, playing in a 2 in a pivot. There's just bullshit that he can't work and he can't play that position because he does. He was outstanding.
So who is the dead wood? Is my question. I don't see a lot. Martial is the only one that
I quite like McTominay, but let's be really honest and frank about it. Manchester United ain't going to win fuck all with McTominay and Fred in midfield, right? No. That's the position.
They can't pass.
You heard what I said on my stream either last week or the week before?
Yeah.
Suj phoned me straight after my stream.
I was listening to James's deadline. It was the deadline stream, I'm pretty sure. The deadline had passed, and then James goes, he goes, Manchester United should knock on West Ham's door. The first thing I did is pick up my phone because I wanted to put me on air and say, forget about it.
But
I can't argue with you more.
It would be an obvious signing, wouldn't it?
I cannot argue with you more. Yeah, exactly that. They need a couple of better midfielders in there.
We don't have to look
but
far.
Those guys are not dead wood.
No, but I mean, there were 2 English players. Forgive me, Leeds fans as well. But Calvin Phillips as well, right? If the money was big enough, I know because of the rivalry between the two is probably more
difficult.
Awkward.
But I think Leeds fans would accept.
He'd also be cheaper than Declan Rice, I should imagine. But he wouldn't be cheap either.
Moyes was quite cheeky last week. Did you see what he said on his Sky News interview? Because Rice was available this summer for $100 million bargain, but that bargain's gone now. I'm like, yeah, all right,
yeah,
boys.
Of course, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah,
if someone's putting a bid in, someone will. But you never know what.
As his contract runs out.
2024, I think, right? So it's still a bit of time, but they should spend the money. I think, yeah. I don't see a lot of dead wood. I see a few players that are not good enough, but they're perfectly fine squad players, but they're not disruptive, egotistical, throwing their toys out of the
No, but there are some points of the squad. We've said that there's certain players there who would get in, say, the Liverpool team, for example. But actually, you say like David De Gea has arguably been Manchester United's best goalkeeper, best player this season, arguably. Although I didn't think he covered himself in any glory at the weekend either, by the way. But David De Gea of now, not David De Gea of 5 years ago, is he anywhere near the level of the three goalkeepers of the other three teams challenging for the league? Right, exactly.
Not even.
So, actually, are you going to push through Dean Henderson, or are you going to decide, actually, you need to get rid of both of these players in the long term and get a new goalkeeper? Now, that's not the immediate problem. I get that. Okay, they've brought Varane in. Fine. Him and Maguire should work. Actually, Lindelof, Bailly, it's not the worst backups, but then he threw Maguire straight back into the Leicester game when he probably wasn't fit. So what did that? They got Bailly to sign a new contract in the summer. What was that? So sale value. The backups in the fullback areas, I'm not convinced about Alex Telles. Shaw has not had a good season so far, but was United's outstanding player last season, in fairness. Wan-Bissaka has stalled completely. They don't have proper coverage at right back. What I've seen of Dalot this year, and I did some analysis of him a couple of weeks back for the patrons, like disaster defensively. So that's not the answer. Midfield's the major problem. Don't need any more attacking players.
No.
Fucking attacking players coming out their ears. Fix the rest. You've got a structure point now. And even when Ronaldo is, let's say he does play to his 39, and he's great till he's 39, then you've got Mason Greenwood's now 24 or something and ready to go and play through the middle. So don't need any more attacking players. You need to fix the midfield. You need better depth defensively. I actually think goalkeeper, longer term, wants looking at as well, personally. But I honestly think, Suj, that a Conte could come in. Let me put it to you like this. If Antonio Conte comes in the door, where do Manchester United finish this season?
Top 4 for sure.
Right, exactly.
For sure.
Where do Manchester United finish if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stays in charge this season?
Somewhere in the top 4th, 5th or 6th.
I would agree with that.
4th, 5th or 6th.
It certainly opens the door for everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Like, honestly, my feeling as someone who doesn't think my team is capable of challenging, but knows if you can consistently win games of football, it will do the job, because there isn't another outstanding candidate like Leicester. Don't look like they're going to be as strong as they were last year, for example, and should have finished top 4. So consistency can get you there. I would look at it and go, right, if they appoint Antonio Conte next week, we can forget that one.
Yeah.
That would be my impression. Your team might look at that slightly differently, but I would think, well, that's killed that.
It's killed it a bit for us. I think the thing that we've had that's helped us is consistency, where we haven't had a lot of back-to-back defeat stroke draws. We bounce back with a win, so it keeps the momentum going. But it's with Europa and everything else, it's very hard to do what the top 4 have done, which is win, 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 win. I made this comment last year. When we were doing so well, it felt relentless week after week after week. You got to keep getting up and winning and keep going. And the weeks, 2 weeks in a row, you don't. Suddenly you're down to 5th, 6th, 7th all of a sudden. So it's very hard to do. So yeah, I'd still feel if they got Conte, we're back to
so subconsciously we have agreed there that he should go. I'm
agreed he should go, but I think he should go when they've got the right manager next. Don't just do it off a knee jerk and then end up faffing about and getting an interim replacement till the end of the year, and then like upgrading character manager for the rest of the year and that kind of shit. Don't do it. Get the right man, and don't panic, because if you get rid of him today or get rid of him in 2 weeks, the grand scheme of things is you're not going to win the Champions League, you're not going to win the league, and that's it. So don't panic and then just think we need to get rid of him now, because even if you waited a month, you still got a chance of getting back in the top 4. So, keep your powder dry. Getting the next right manager is so important.
Manchester United were to sack him and appoint from within the Premier League, where do you think they'd go?
Well, I got on the Q&A yesterday, someone...
The Q&A that we recorded, but Suj never pressed record for.
Yes, that's true. Potter was mentioned. Right, let's go from top to bottom. You're not going to get any of the top 3.
No, don't be silly, no.
Moyes is not going to go back.
No.
They're not coming to your place for
Nuno's available.
They're not coming for Nuno. They're not coming for Rafa. They're not going to go for Arteta.
Rafa. Brendan Rodgers?
He turned down Newcastle.
Do we know that?
Okay, it's a rumour. Yes,
I think Brendan Rodgers is so fucking vain that I think he turned down if he did turn down a Newcastle job, it's because he thinks he'll be the next Newcastle manager.
Former Liverpool manager managing Manchester United, acceptable?
Probably not. No.
Okay.
But then Mark Hughes went and managed Man City.
Yeah, so. And then the likes of Vieira and all these guys ain't going to do it. Sean Dyche ain't getting that job. Nor's Bielsa. So Graham Potter.
Oh my God, Bielsa at Man United. We really have upset the Leeds fans now.
So realistically, the only one that I can see would be Potter.
How do you think that would go down for United fans? I don't think it would.
They'd like it.
I don't think that it would be greatly received. I think in terms
because
of,
I don't think the majority, and it's true for all clubs, so I'm not being disrespectful, Manchester United fans, understand football and look at Brighton with enough detail to get it. I think the majority will be like, we've just gone and got Brighton's manager, and won't have looked at Brighton's style of play, results, or understand Potter. The man's got a degree in psychology, he understands man management. He's a thoughtful, structured guy with a philosophy that has been proven to bring through young talent at Brighton as well, with Lamptey coming through and all that kind of stuff. So, but I don't think your everyday football fan who's supporting Manchester United going and watching them and just like very red tinted glasses knows and understands Potter's history potentially for the majority.
Do you think he could win 28 out of 38 league games? It's difficult to envisage that. And that's kind of borderline where you need to be as a minimum to be winning the title now, really. 26, 28. You're not winning the Premier League with 25 wins anymore. It's gone.
Don't know. I really don't know. It could be Moyes round 2. Gets 10 months, doesn't quite do it, and then he's just out the door.
I think there'd be pressure on it because, with respect to Brighton, and Brighton are very much a growing and developing football club, there's such a jump. It's not like it's not a jump like Brighton to Tottenham.
No,
even I can see that. Yeah. You jump into the biggest in terms of the media attention, etc. So I think United will, whether United fans like it or not, I think the decision will be influenced by what's happening at the other 3 clubs. There's a case to be made that the managers at the other 3 clubs are arguably the 3 best managers in the world. That's a wider debate, but you'd certainly put those 3 right near the top. Exactly,
in the ring, straight away. Yeah.
So therefore, I think United will go to the very top of what is available to them. And for me, I do think Antonio Conte will end up being the Manchester United manager sooner rather than later.
Listeners, do jump in the comments on YouTube, on Twitter at Planet FPL Pod, or wherever you're listening to the podcast.
Is there any way he can recover? Like, could we be sitting here in 12 months and Solskjaer's manager?
Yeah.
Can't see it.
Yeah.
Can't see it.
But I don't think the fans will accept it. But it becomes a financial decision where the board are a little bit reluctant to pay out Compo and want to stick with one of their own. But the external pressures, I think, will probably end up getting too much.
I hear a lot of people just finally saying, "Oh, he needs to win a trophy." Louis van Gaal winning the FA Cup did not save him his job.
No, agreed.
So they're not going to win the big ones, as far as I'm concerned. They could, if they appointed a Conte, they could be a live runner in the Champions League. Like, let's be honest. December time, did anyone think Chelsea was winning the Champions League under Lampard? No. So if you appoint a top manager, like they've got good players, it doesn't mean they could then be in the running for Champions League. Not going to be under Solskjaer, in my opinion. No. Winning an FA Cup does not change anything for Manchester United or a Europa League if they drop into it. So I think the best case scenario for Solskjaer is he'll be manager in May. He won't be manager in June.
No. Like I was saying, jump in on the comments. I really am loath sometimes to give a opinion on other clubs like I was with Steve Bruce and Newcastle, because I don't watch them week in, week out, and I don't really feel qualified to give an opinion, but it's a neutral opinion. If you're a fan of Manchester United, would love your opinion and join in the discussion and the debate. Other than that, we'll be back at you tomorrow with Sky Fantasy Football. We didn't have a particularly good week, 82 points in that.
Do we have to?
And then Thursday, of course, Clash of the Correspondents. You spoke to Dan, Loco Lord, and Sam from Brighton. Did you ask Sam Brighton what he'd think of Potter at United?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
no.
We'll need to get his opinion at some point. But it's not going to happen, so let's see.
I don't think I did.
And on Friday, of course, a live stream, Ask James Q&A. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the pod. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.